I would like to call to order the Winthrop School Committee meeting on January 24th, Monday at 6 p.m. Can you please call the roll, Ms. Hames?
Ms. Leonard?
Present.
Mr. Lettieri?
Yeah.
Mr. Matucci?
Yep.
Ms. Petrie?
Here.
Ms. Swope?
Here.
Ms. Barry?
Here.
Ms. Bell?
Here. Ms. Berry, can you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Do we have any public comment tonight? Seeing none. We have Mr. Rob O'Dwyer, who is here to, as a delegate, to present the vote tomorrow on the Northeast Metro Tech School. And I will let you have the microphone over by Ms. Hames so we all can hear.
Thank you very much. I appreciate being your surprise guest this evening. So as you hopefully are aware, there is a vote tomorrow in Winthrop between 11 a.m. and 6 p.m. There's 3 locations for the vote. The Northeast Metropolitan Vocational High School has been making plans for a new building for the last 6 years. And the vote for that in the 12 communities that go there in the district, including Winthrop, is tomorrow. It's a yes vote for the plan, to be supportive of the plan as it is. There's information on Northeast Metro's website, on news. I would say the building, it's a total of $317 million. Right now is what the plan looks like. There's some state funding that comes in to mitigate some of that. I want to say right now committed is about $140 million, and then I think Representative Turco is working on additional funding as well as some other people and sources. I think a vote of yes supports the new building. The new building, or the building I should say, is replacing, would replace the current building, which I believe was built in 1968 and is outdated as a physical plant. That's one issue. The other issue is enrollment. The new building plans to bring in a total of, I think, about 1,600 students. And it's right now, I want to say somewhere around 1,300. Thank you. I think that a vote of no, not supporting the plan as it is, I think that it goes back to the drawing board, essentially. I think that's my guess. So I just encourage everybody to go out and vote tomorrow, all the residents of Winthrop and everybody here. Does anyone have any questions for me?
Do we have any questions? All right, fantastic. Thank you so much for coming. And that again is tomorrow at the regular polling places
That's right.
from 11 to 6.
That's right.
All right, fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
Okay, we also have Ms. Lori Gallivan, our Executive Director of Curriculum, who is going to give us a report on the NYU Culturally Responsive Curriculum Scorecard.
Well, while Laurie is preparing, if I just may jump in on the vocational school vote tomorrow, I think it's important for our community members to understand a little bit of the difference between the vocational school and the current public high school that we have now. I am the daughter of an industrial arts former teacher for many years at Swampscott High School, and that was back in the day when school buildings, public school buildings, had capacity and access to programs like automotive, woodworking, medical careers, and the like. And fast forward to 2022 or even 1990s, those opportunities in the regular public schools in communities lessened with more of emphasis on academics and costs associated with running public schools, schools began to dwindle away some of these critically important programs for our students. Not every student is the same, as I know very well after being in this business for over 33 years now. And public schools, students always went to vocational schools, years past. However, it used to be the place that students would go because they couldn't keep up with the academics in the public school. That is the furthest thing from the truth now. The academics in a vocational school, I have visited the vocational school multiple times in my life, and most recently this past, about a month ago, where I toured on the parent open house night. It was so crowded you could barely move through the hallways. And it was a very unexpected crowd for the superintendent there, as he and I spoke about it, which he was thrilled with. However, the regular public school cannot compete with what a vocational school, whether it's the Northeast Regional Vocational School or Essex Tech, has to now offer our students. Everything from culinary to hairdressing to dental to automotive to HVAC, it goes on and on and on. And in a general public school, those same offerings cannot be replicated. Therefore, keeping in mind that every student should have an access to a free and appropriate public education to meet their needs. Not just our special education population, not just our ELL population, but our students who are going to go on to pursue careers in a vocational manner. And I think personally, it would be a travesty if we didn't support this. We currently have 57 students who access the vocational school and 5 students who access Essex Tech School, which has some different programs that are not offered in the public school or at the vocational school. Our students are thriving in these programs. I don't know if you've watched the news, which I try not to, if you've watched the news or followed education at all and looked at the economy, we're hurting for plumbers, we're hurting for nurses, we're hurting for people in all these various departments that the vocational school can take our students here from Winthrop and get them ready to go out into the world and pursue careers in many, many different venues. And sure, they could do that after they attended the public school, and that's an option for our kids. Northeast Regional Vocational School has a night school as well. Many of our students go to that when they are able to, and if they have not gone on. One of the things that's upsetting to me year in and year out is the number of students we have on a waiting list. And those students truly want to pursue a vocational career. It's not easy to get into the Northeast Regional Vocational School or Essex Tech. It's no longer the theory, if you can't make it in the public school, you go to a vocational school. It's extremely competitive. They're competitive with attendance, they're competitive with student behavior. They have a different schedule that works for a select group of students, and for us it's 57 with, I believe we had 15 to 18 kids on a waiting list. So in voting favorably for the vocational school, our town, the town of Winthrop, not necessarily just the school department, will have to work creatively to come up with the funding to support the vocational schools over the new school over the next several years. But the payback for us as a community, I think, will be enormous. If you take a drive by our athletic facility, Miller Field, and you look at the field house, that field house was the birth of the students of the vocational school, along with the support of the staff here and our town facilities directors. And it is a beautiful, breathtaking facility. So the field house that you see there was built at the hands of those students. So the vocational school is no joke, and it is something that we sorely need for access for all of our students to get an equitable education. So I feel like the follow-up to Mr. Dewar's discussion and about the vote, it's critically important that we get out there and vote for this school, and then put it back in the hands of the town of Winthrop to figure out how we're gonna manage that over the next 30 years of a bond. And I believe I heard a firm commitment from the town council that they will work and especially with our legislators who are trying to draw that cost over the next 30 years down for us. There is an enormous push from all the participating communities to get that cost down. But without a building to build, there is no cost to bring down. So I encourage everybody to get out there tomorrow and vote. And if you have any questions about where to go, or questions about how you might be thinking about voting and you need some more information, you can certainly reach out to me at the superintendent's office, and if I don't have the answer, I can get you a person who you'll be able to speak with. So thank you for allowing me the minute to go over that.
Thank you.
And thank you again.
Thank you. Well said. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, you're gonna tell me what to do? So I'm gonna work the, I'm gonna work the
Just use
computer.
the arrow keys, hit down when I give you a little.
Let me go like this.
See how that goes. So thank you very much for having me tonight. I wanted to start with a little bit of what I just gave to all of you. There are 3 different pieces in your packet. One is from the DESE webpage, and it talks about what culturally responsive teaching and leading is and how we are expected to be carrying this out in our public schools and making changes and adaptations to the curriculum in this manner. So I want you to have that. The other thing that you have is what's called the culturally responsive look-fors that DESE puts out as well. And this is designed for administrators and for teachers. So we've shared this with all of the administrators and with the teachers so that they know and understand what kind of things that you should be looking for when you're walking through classrooms, when you're looking for opportunities to make sure that you're broadening connections for kids. So that's there as well. And then you have a copy of this presentation. So in NYU curriculum, Scorecard was a tool that we used. I started talking with the teachers about it last year when we started doing a lot of the work around diversity, equity, and inclusion. And for the first year, we let them just kind of have it and be looking at it and thinking about it. And this year, all of the ELA, all of the grade level teachers at the elementary and the ELA teachers at the middle and high school went through their current curriculum to review it based on this scorecard to see really where do we go from here? What do we need to do? What kind of changes do we need to make and adaptations? So basically the foundation of culturally responsive education is this idea just in general that very closely related to culturally relevant, culturally sustaining education, referring to the combination of teaching, pedagogy, curriculum, theories, attitudes, practices, and instructional materials that center students' culture, identities, and contexts throughout their educational system. The 3 main key principles of culturally responsive education are validating students' experiences and their values, disrupting power dynamics that privilege dominant groups, and empowering students. The significance really is that, for years, most of this work started in the early 2000s, but, there have been rigorous evaluations and studies have shown that culturally responsive curriculum increases students' academics, their engagement, their attendance, their grade point averages, even graduation rates, and civic engagement, along with positive racial self-image and self-definition. So not only does, CRE impact students' academic experiences, but it also can have significant influence on attitudes and biases in schools. So the scorecard is broken down into 3 sections. It has an area of representation, which is to help you determine the extent to which your students in the school are reflected through their curriculum, and to the extent which they're being exposed to groups of diverse authors, characters, identities, and cultures. The second section is social justice, and this is divided into 3 categories, each of which contributes to understanding the opportunities that the curricula provide to cultural responsiveness. And the third is the teacher's materials. This section is a review of the teacher materials, what they're using for instruction, and knowing that teachers should be provided some type of guidance on how to approach and enhance and customize lessons for their student populations. So this, I just wanted to show you this. I just took some random samplings. I took a grade from each of the buildings. This is kindergarten. This is the first category, which is responsiveness, and I know it's hard to see on that page at the bottom, but what that says at the bottom is, it's a list of all the different nationalities, starting with Middle Eastern, Asian Pacific, Black African, Latinx, Native, white, racially, multiracial, differently abled, and animals. And the first chart you see on the left is from the kindergarten teachers. The blue denotes girls or woman, orange boys or man, and gray is non-binary, such as the animals. So if you look, the diversity of characters is fabulous across the kindergarten levels. But then when you look at the authors at the kindergarten level, there's no diversity. So that's just to show you kind of the difference between, so, and because the characters are so diverse, even the teachers don't really realize that, you know, so this was really a great exercise in them being able to know and understand where we go from here, kind of in the next steps and what we're looking for. The second chart is from the third grade classroom, same thing. On the left is characters, and on the right is authors. So more diversity as we go up, but again, still not covering as much as we'd like. The following is, this is 6th, 7th, and 8th combined. The English teachers at the middle school did theirs all combined. So again, on the left shows you the different characters and different nationalities represented, and the authors on the right. So again, another, you know, kind of eye-opening, great. We've got some diversity, but clearly we've got room for some improvement and some strengthening. And then the last one is the 9th grade, of the characters and the authors that we have right now. So that's the first part of the ratings of the scorecard. The second part is what I talked about a few minutes ago about representation. So what this says, if you can see the bottom of the charts, it says very satisfied, satisfied, unclear, and not satisfied. So everything, when you go through this using this tool, if one of the criteria is met, you put a check in the satisfied box. For every check in the satisfied box, you get 2 points. For every check in the, in the very satisfied, you get 2 points. For every check in the satisfied, you get 1 point. And then for the unclear and not satisfied, it's -1 and -2. So everything is tallied up, and based on your overall scores, tells you where you're, you know, where you are right now in line with some curriculum needs and strengths and weaknesses. So you'll see that on the diversity of characters in the 2nd grade chart that's here, a lot of not satisfied for both the diversity of characters and the accurate portrayals. And I'll tell you a little bit more about what that overall rating means in a minute. Under the social justice orientation, you see as well, there's a lot. So blue is decolonization, power and privilege. Orange is centering multiple perspectives. Gray is connect learning to real life and action. And yellow are the teacher materials. So there's still a lot that are on the overall negative side from the evaluations that were done. The next slide is of grade 5, and you'll see the same thing. There are certain areas where there is satisfaction, and I'm happy to kind of go through some of the questions. It was just way too much to kind of put on a slide for you guys, but to give you an idea of what questions fall in each of these categories. In a few areas, where teacher materials in grade 5, they were comfortable with a lot of the materials that they have, but unclear on a lot. And part of that is because in those grades, in K to 5, we've been trying to move and evaluate, looking for a new ELA K to 5 curriculum. And with the pandemic in the last year and a half, 2 years, it's been very difficult because one, we haven't had the opportunity really to get people together and have those deep conversations where we really want to be able to dig into what the materials look like. But we are doing that. We're hoping to be able to come up with a decision by the end of this school year on what direction we'll move. And so the book that they use is still Storytown, which has been around, my understanding, for a very long time. I don't know for sure when it was brought in to the Winthrop Public Schools, but it doesn't seem like many people have any other much recollection of what was before that. The next slide has the 6th through 8th grade. Same thing. You know, not a lot of very satisfied. We've got a few areas where people are satisfied, but the majority are unclear, are not satisfied. And then grade 10, showing the same thing, you know, diversity and accurate portrayals. But some, you know, I think some stronger areas in social justice when you get to the high school level that the teachers are being able to use and work on. So the score interpretation, this first one is, this graph represents kindergarten through 11th grade. So based on this chart, what you're looking at basically is 3 of the grades came in as culturally destructive in the rating system, right? It's not, it doesn't mean it in the sense that everything you're doing is off. This is strictly about the materials that we're using that need to be upgraded, you know? I mean, teachers do bring so much supplemental materials in as well. This is based on Storytown at the elementary levels. It's based on some of the novel units at the 6th through 12th grade level. So their terminology is based on what you see here. This is what it's saying. It's saying that the materials that we have are likely reinforcing stereotypes and portrays people of color in inferior and destructive ways. And this is the teachers. The teachers went through all these materials and answered these questions based on what they have. We know they're changing those things in the classroom, but based on the material, and this is why there's such a need for a new ELA curriculum. So that's where we're starting with the first one, you know, is that they have to do so much work to bring so many things in to make it, you know, what they have in their classrooms now. It's, you know, and they shouldn't have to do that much work. The tier 1 instruction should be there for them. There should be guidance for them. It should be there so that their focus needs to be on tier 2 and tier 3 level instruction for kids. So this is part of the reason that we're digging into this, so that we have this data to be able to move forward and purchase new materials for the teachers. And it's the same, if you look at the next page is the social justice area. And again, culturally insufficient, it's lacking some areas, but it's not all negative. And quite a few more in emerging awareness. So we really have found that, and I think a lot of it is because of what the teachers are bringing in by themselves, you know, and knowing it. But it's clear, on the last chart, you'll see that's teacher materials. So this is just K through 8, 9 through 12 was comfortable because they use so much of their own material. But, you know, just not having those materials to do the guided work of what culturally responsive education should look like. And them always trying to do it on their own or do it on the side or supplement something, and not having the language in front of them to use when necessary was really clear to them that they need more materials. They need better classroom libraries at the elementary levels, and a curriculum that will help guide and suggest where some of these really great learning moments can happen. Right? So our next steps really are continuing the discussions with the grade level teams at the elementary level and with the ELA department at the secondary level. Asking important questions like, do we think this evaluation provides an accurate picture? You know, do we think it's that there's more information, additional information we need to bring in before making, you know, any definitive decisions? And meeting with the team to determine what the materials are that are needed. Like I said, I know the early childhood, the Fort Banks, I know really beefing up their classroom libraries, kind of diversifying some of their authors, as they saw, even though they have great character diversification. So meeting and seeing what is needed and what they feel is needed the most. And then to develop some type of abbreviated version, a tool that we can use when we go through these new curriculums that we're going to be looking at, to say, okay, you know, we already know these are the kind of things we want to make sure are very diverse, that the authors of the stories are diverse, that they are meeting the cultural responsive standards that DESE is looking for and we're looking for in a community like Winthrop. And the last really is provide professional development to staff on what culturally responsive teaching is and what it can look like. So those look-fors that administrators are trying to make sure is happening in the classrooms. The strategies that a lot of them learned in their SEI class when they got the endorsement through retail, that's the Sheltered English Immersion. A lot of those strategies are put in place, not just for ELL learners, but they're strategies that are very supportive of all kids, of all students. So making sure that some of those things are happening in the classroom as well. And just taking what we're learning through this and figuring out where we can make the changes, where we can adapt so that we're, providing tools for our students that, they can see themselves in. Does anybody have questions?
Fantastic. Do we have questions? Yes, Mrs. Swope.
Is there a way that I could stop by your office or whatever to take a look at some of the responses? I think I'd understand it. I kind of get it.
Yeah,
I
well,
think I would feel better
I can
if
send you, I thought I shared with you the actual rubric a while ago, but I can send it to you and you can see what the questions were.
Yeah,
The
that would,
specific
I
questions.
think that would
Like I said, it was just
help
too
you
much to put up
clarify.
here, but I'll send it to Patty and maybe you can send it out to everybody, then you all have it electronically, you
Okay,
can go
great.
through, see what the questions are.
It's very,
Thank you. I have a couple questions, sorry. Is this something that's being mandated by DESE, or is this a?
No,
Okay.
This is just, what's mandated by DESE is that we are doing culturally responsive teaching, that we are doing culturally responsive professional development with our staff. But what tool you use to try and determine what that is yours. They do have a couple, I think, things out now, but they don't have anything like this where you're actually going through the actual curriculum.
Okay. And then, so, looking at these results, I understand what the next steps are. But, like, what are, I guess with topics like this, it leaves a lot open to personal interpretation of what, makes something, for example, obviously diversity of characters and diversity of authors is pretty straightforward,
Right.
but when you get into topics like, centering multiple perspectives or decolonization, power and privilege,
Right.
Connect learning to real life and action, like a lot of that is sort of, I would say subjective to some degree. So I guess my question is like, what is the goal that we're looking to achieve with this and with our study here? Like, how do we get to a place where, I don't know, I guess it's hard when you have teachers answering questions and, it might just not, I guess it's not black and white is my point. You know what I mean? It's very.
Just to give you an example, so in that section, decolonization, power and privilege.
Yeah.
One of the questions is, the curriculum communicates an asset-based perspective of representing people of diverse races, classes, genders, abilities, sexual orientations through their strengths, talents, and knowledge, rather than perceived flaws or deficiencies.
Yeah.
The teachers, like, for example, this is third grade, gave that an unclear, because there really isn't much diversity in their texts, so it's very hard for them to answer it. And there were quite a few that are that unclear. But one that was, satisfied, the curriculum does not communicate negativity or hostility towards people of marginalized backgrounds through verbal or nonverbal insults, slights, or snubs. So that was no, they're satisfied that that's not an issue with their curriculum kind of
I
thing.
think it might be helpful to have the questions. I think
Yeah.
maybe that's probably.
I apologize, 'cause I thought I'd sent
no,
them
that's
out
okay.
once before, but it was just, they're really wordy, so I didn't know how
Yeah,
I'd
no,
put
that's
those up and
fair.
have you guys have to stare at them.
Yeah.
But I will,
I do think that it's important to understand the why. The why are we doing this? Why are we looking at this? And I think Laurie was clear in articulating that the Department of Education expects us to be looking at these things. However, as a school district, we don't know what we don't know. So we can say, oh yeah, we have all that down. Our curriculum, we have, a vast array of authors. We could say that from the top level, but if you don't allow the teachers to weigh in and do sort of a forensic, using a big term, but a forensic look at what they actually have at their fingertips provided by us to them, then we're sort of guessing at what they have based on what we know we've purchased. But we want them to look at their own materials and supplies, their books, the authors that they have, and really deep dive into it and come back to us with some data to support, yes, I have an array of authors in my classroom, and if you don't, it's upon us to make sure that they have access to that. So I think that this sort of survey of our staff is helping us collect data to determine where we need to step it up and to be able to make sure that we provide that level. And when you're sitting groups of people down, asking them to do something very specific and giving them direction to do it, doesn't mean that every single survey is gonna come back and we're gonna run out and buy 13 new books. It means we're gonna collect all the data and say, okay, this is what we found. Now, using this, what does that mean for our schools in kindergarten? It means that our libraries need to have more robust authors. So what does that mean at this level with Lori, myself, and the principals as we're doing our budget and as we're looking at what we're buying for our schools? These are the look-fors and the mindfulness that we need to have while we're purchasing. The look-fors also reflect what the principals need to be doing when they're evaluating teachers in the classroom. So if the look-fors are, you've articulated that you need, more books for your library with a diverse authors. When the principal goes into that classroom, if the planning as we move forward is to make sure that those classrooms have that, we're gonna be in classrooms looking at people's libraries and saying, gee, did you miss the train here? We were ordering books. I see your library doesn't have what you had. You actually weighed into this survey. Have you spoken to your principal? Did you not get the purchases that you wanted? Did you not move forward on this next step? So it's all woven in. I know I talk about it all the time, but the strategic plan being tied to the budget, being tied to people's evaluations, being tied to me, this is sort of the necessary data collection we need to do to make sure, as we are evaluating our programs and our staff, that we're evaluating on something that we've asked them to look at and give us feedback, and for us to then to be able to support them. So I think it's important to know that, because why are we doing this and what are we doing with it? We do surveys, but what do you do with that survey information, and how does that then get reflected
I think that's
on
important.
student learning? Yeah.
I mean, and I think, I've said it before, and I spoke to principals about it at one of our recent meetings, but, the Department of Education is really very focused on the fact that we've all been very concerned about what's been going on in the last almost 2 years now, right? And some of the unfinished learning that's happened for all of our kids at all the grade levels. And what their real focus is that they're doing these curriculum reviews. They have this curate system where, a program has to be reviewed by Ed Reports or one of the large national organizations before they'll even look at it. Then they put it out before a group of teachers and administrators from Massachusetts to review and line up against the Mass standards. And then they have ratings for them. So their real push right now is what I just mentioned. Go with a curriculum, a tool that has already been vetted, that is considered high-quality curriculum materials, and therefore, and make sure that they're being implemented with fidelity in your buildings, and therefore taking away that tier 1 pressure from the educator, because right now there's so many different groups that the tier 2 and the tier 3 instruction that's going to be necessary over the next few years is where they need to be able to put their expertise, So I'm really hoping that this can help kind of drive us moving in that direction. We're doing it, we did it with our math at the ATC this year with the move to illustrative math. That's one of the programs the middle school is looking at possibly moving to. They're investigating a few, but with the same directions. Go with the ones that have been vetted, go with the ones that are considered high quality, so that we're not trying to reinvent the wheel and teachers don't have to supplement what they're doing,
Thank you.
Ms. Lund, do you
I
have a
think,
question?
yes, this is a bit of a follow-up, Lori. Could you just talk a little bit about why the NYU, why the decision to use this particular rubric?
It's considered one of the most, what's the word I'm looking for? It's widely accepted across the nation. Its founders were all some of the first and most formidable people that do the work in the area. It's backed with all kinds of support and indexes, and I think you're familiar with it as well. Talked before, but this, when you, if you Google anything about it, this is what's gonna come up every time. It's considered to be the, you know, the tool, and still is, you know, and so, that was ultimately the decision was based on that.
And it's a guide. It's a guide for us to help us do this deep work, which is not new. This is not new work, looking at curriculum and looking at how it impacts our students, and is it a useful curriculum? Is it equitable for all of our learners? This isn't something new in education. There's an additional focus, and there's some now additional support for using these tools to get you the best information that you can get to make really important decisions for kids. And so I think when people hear, oh, you're looking at changing curriculum, we do that all the time. We're always looking at our curriculum to see if this is right and working for our kids. And it's important to change it. People think, well, you got this 5 years ago, why are you changing it now? The kids we have now are not the same as the kids we had 5 years ago. And just community-wise, and you can't turn a blind eye on the students that you have in front of you. You have to know who the students are and whether or not a particular curriculum you've picked is working in an equitable manner for students, whether it's, you know, I know that we've had, in the past, we've had some math programs that are very heavy on language. And that's detrimental to kids who struggle with language, and I don't mean language as in the English language, I mean language in general, language comprehension. So reading comprehension. So those are the things that we're always tweaking. And this year, we're utilizing this tool to see how it goes. And it's new for us. The tool itself is new for us. The process, the deep dive process is new for our staff, who are exhausted on a good day, but they jumped in and have been quite responsive to the work and feel as though, you know, they're part of a team decision now. Somebody's not just gonna plop a curriculum in front of them and say, this is what you're teaching now, take it home over the summer and read it, because you're doing it in the fall. They're adding to the process of really digging deep and saying what's gonna work best for all our kids, and they know our kids better than we do. And they know the materials that they have in their classroom, so it's super helpful. It's one bit of information that's helping us make a larger decision down the road. Thank you, Laurie.
And I will send that along to you guys. So you'll
Thank
have it.
you.
Thank you, that's great.
Can I have a motion to approve the minutes of January 5th, 2022? Motion by Ms. Berry,
Second.
second by Ms. Swope. Ms. Hames, can you call the roll call?
Yes, Ms. Leonard?
Yes.
Mr. Lettieri?
Yes.
Mr. Matucci?
Yes.
Ms. Petrie?
Yes.
Ms. Swope?
Yes.
Ms. Barry?
Yes.
Ms. Powell?
Yes. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes of January 10th, 2022?
So moved.
Second?
Motion by Ms. Swope, second by Ms. Leonard. Ms. Hames, can you please call the roll?
Yes, Ms. Leonard?
Yes.
Mr. Lettieri?
Yes.
Mr. Matucci?
Yes.
Ms. Petrie?
Yes.
Ms. Swope?
Yes.
Ms. Barry?
Yes.
Ms. Powell?
Yes. And I am remiss in welcoming Ms. Petrie to her first meeting. She is joining us by Zoom tonight, but we are glad to have our new member with us. Can I have a motion to approve warrant SVW 22-12 in the amount of $241,774.34?
Motion.
Motion by Ms. Berry,
Second.
second by Mr. Martucci. Ms. Hames, can you please call the roll?
Ms. Leonard?
Yes.
Mr. Lettieri?
Yes.
Mr. Matucci?
Yes.
Ms. Petrie?
Yes.
Ms. Swope?
Yes.
Ms. Barry?
Yes.
Ms. Powell?
Yes. Can I have a motion for payroll warrant SPW 22-15 in the amount of $792,411.85?
Motion.
Motion by Ms. Swope,
Second?
second by Ms. Leonard. Ms. Hames, can you please call the roll?
Ms. Leonard?
Yes.
Mr. Lettieri?
Abstain.
Mr. Matucci?
Abstain.
Ms. Petrie?
Yes.
Ms. Swope?
Yes.
Ms. Barry?
Yes.
Ms. Powell?
Yes. We have no budget transfers tonight, and we have an anticipated vote to accept the donation from On Deck Sports.
Yes, On Deck Sports had reached out to us. They were doing some work in their company, and they had some materials and athletic equipment that they wanted to donate to us that was in good, very good, if not perfect condition. a lot of it. And they reached out to ask if we could use any of it. Athletic Director Serino went through some of the items that they were looking to donate to the school, and found that quite a bit of it was gonna be beneficial to the school district, specifically high school baseball program. So went through those materials, and he requested that we accept those materials from On Deck Sports. They've provided us with an estimate of the cost of those items. I provided that to you in your packet so that you could take a look at that, and if you had any questions, I may or may not be able to answer them. But it's baseball, so I might be right on it.
Okay, first can I have a motion to accept the donation from On Deck Sports?
Motion.
Motion by Ms. Berry,
Second.
second by Mr. Martucci. Any discussion?
I would just like to thank them for the donation. It was incredibly generous of them.
Like Christmas on the baseball field.
We'll take that. Ms.
So we
Haynes,
thank
can you call the roll?
Ms. Leonard?
Yes.
Mr. Lettieri?
Yes.
Mr. Matucci?
Yes.
Ms. Petrie?
Yes.
Ms. Swope?
Yes,
Ms. Barry?
Yes.
Ms. Powell?
Yes. Next, we have a Buildings and Grounds. We have a request by the WH Drama Society for the dinner theater production. And I would ask that we vote to, included in the motion that we waive the rental fee. Can I have a motion? Motion by Ms. Berry,
Second.
second by Mr. Lettieri. Is there any discussion? Want to give us a quick background on?
So it's the dinnerless dinner theater, am I right? Is that what this one is?
Yes.
Okay. So, and I've been to a couple of them. The first one I went to, I was absolutely blown away, and they typically hold a production at Prince House of Pizza, which does have gluten-free pizza, in case anyone's worried. And you sit in sort of a tight space. I don't know if you've ever been to Prince, but the table's not very big. And so they're concerned about that. They're concerned about folks being able to enjoy themselves in that particular environment. So the lead person is, your name again, sorry.
Jamie Montesano.
Jamie Montesano had reached out. She is the production manager. Had reached out and asked if this group could perform a sort of dinnerless dinner theater. And I don't have any problem with that. My issue is I want the kids to perform. So she asked if they could use the Neil Shapiro Auditorium to do so, which of course, these are our students, and we want them to have every opportunity. However, the dinner piece sort of goes away because we're not a restaurant. So she had asked for that change for this year. I had no problem allowing them to use the theater. I think they were exploring, last time I spoke with her, they were exploring other options to make it a dinner theater. So I think this is a holding place for now. If there are changes and they're able to incorporate a dinner and hold it in a larger venue where people could spread out a little bit more, and the students would be masked, of course, except when eating. They may change the venue, but this holds the spot at the Neil Shapiro Center, and I would suggest that you vote favorably on that for now.
Okay, any discussion?
I just want to add something. I just want to add a little flavor around the creative arts program and the musical theater program in town. It's no secret that it's a tremendous program and that it's award-winning. There are many children who participate in the performing arts, not just my own, Miss Powell's also, but there are children that also participate in crew. And what crew is it's the behind the scenes, it's the front of house, and it starts in middle school with Miss Daly's program, and she runs a tremendous program, and she gets kids of all ages and passions to get involved, and they learn set design, sound design, lighting design, costuming, front of house skills, back of house skills, and a lot of these kids go on to do that in high school. And unfortunately, COVID's really done a great deal of damage with canceling a lot of these kids' activities. And I just wanted to read a list of,
We should take
Oh.
the vote.
oh, sorry, all right, that's fine. Anyway, I'm just happy that these children are able to perform, and the sooner we can get them back to performing normally, the better it'll be, because they've missed out on a tremendous amount.
So I'm happy that we're moving forward. Any other discussion? Okay, can you please call the roll, Ms. Ames?
Yes, Ms. Leonard?
Yes?
Mr. Lettieri?
Yes.
Mr. Matucci?
Yes.
Ms. Petrie?
Yes.
Ms. Swope?
Yes.
Ms. Barry?
Yes.
Ms. Powell?
Yes. Can I have a motion for approval of Winark using the gym, I believe it'll be the gym, for the Special Olympics basketball, and we would like to waive the rental fee with that as well.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Martucci, second by Ms. Swope. Any discussion? Hearing none, can you please call the roll?
Ms. Leonard?
Yes?
Mr. Lettieri?
Yes.
Mr. Matucci?
Yes.
Ms. Petrie?
Yes.
Ms. Swope?
Yes.
Ms. Barry?
Yes.
Ms. Powell?
Yes. We have no subcommittee reports tonight. We do have the superintendent's report.
Yes, thank you. Of course, I stopped my superintendent report, and I can't wait to never have to do this again with a COVID update. Just to give you a little bit of background, we are seeing improvement. I repeat, we are seeing improvement in student and staff attendance and COVID-positive cases. So the week of January 6th through the 12th, we had 102 students reported as COVID positive and 27 staff members who had reported. That does not include the at-home, all of the at-home rapid tests. It does include some, but for the most part, it's the Maven system in which somebody has a PCR test that gets reported to the town. And our COVID lead, along with Meredith Hurley, go through that data to make sure that we're capturing all of our families. And some of that 102, in terms of the students, is also parents calling and reporting positive rapid antigen tests, as well as the 27 staff members. Last week, the week of January 13th through the 19th, we had only 40 students reported as COVID positive either through Maven or the rapid antigen, and only 7 staff members reported. And our in-school attendance for both staff and students is reflective of an improvement. I do believe that right after Christmas break, we saw a large amount of students not returning. Not all were COVID positive, not all were symptomatic. There were families that were concerned about having their students back in the environment and elected to keep their students home, and we were understanding of that. So we are seeing an improvement. There's also going to be a vaccination clinic run by, we're working with East Boston Neighborhood Health Centers, as well as the Department of Education, to do pop-up vaccination clinics for our students. This particular vaccination clinic on Wednesday at St. John's, and Meredith will hopefully text me to tell me the times, because they were working on those, but we will definitely put it out to the parents. It's being run by the town of Winthrop in conjunction with East Boston Neighborhood Health Center, and this is for students 12 and up. I think the importance of this clinic is East Boston Neighborhood Health is offering translators to attend this clinic, and they're pushing that information out through the town side, and we will send it out as well as soon as we receive it, the final time and actual event notification from the town to get that out. So that is a positive thing. So if you need a vaccination clinic, you can look on the town's website or look for an email from the school department in the next day. And then I wanted to talk a little bit, last school committee meeting and this school committee meeting, I put in your packet the new testing program that's being offered and suggested by the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, as well as the Massachusetts Department of Public Health. It's the new COVID testing option to optimize in-person learning, which is going to enable districts and schools to make the shift towards a greater focus of school health personnel on identifying symptomatic individuals and other aspects of our COVID-19 management. The Department of Ed and the Executive Office of Human Services, as well as the Massachusetts Department of Public Health, will now provide this new option within the statewide testing program, which they believe is going to optimize in-person learning. So specifically, districts and schools that participate in symptomatic and/or pool testing. We are not a pool testing district, but we are a district that does participate in symptomatic testing, meaning if you have COVID symptoms in school, we BINAC swab you. So those folks can continue to use those testing strategies. However, if you opt into this program, you are expected to discontinue contact tracing and test and stay. I think I spoke a little bit at the last meeting about how contact tracing has become sort of an Olympic sport, especially given the Omicron variant increase, and it was sort of counterproductive. It was very difficult to determine where cases of COVID were coming from, but we did know that there was such a dramatic uptick in people with the Omicron variant that we were spending an inordinate amount of time pulling kids out of classes and our nursing staff doing the contact tracing, and time gets beyond you. When you have so much work and notification to do, you run out of time. So we began to notify people later than we wanted. And so this particular program is an additional resource that you can elect to opt into, and the change in this is that we will be provided by the state with rapid antigen at-home tests for all participating staff and students that can be used on a weekly basis at home. Using their professional discretion, the school health professionals can still determine if we need to do some level of contact tracing in our schools. So it's not off the table, as in, if you participate in this, you can never contact trace. If our nurse staff feels as though there is a need to do so, an outbreak or something unusual, they can continue to do that and continue to notify parents. But it's important to note that this is only available to districts and schools that continue the symptomatic testing like we would, and that if you choose to continue test and stay and contact tracing, you will not get an allotment of these tests to send home with families and with staff, and for our staff. So we've consulted obviously with the Department of Education. We've consulted Meredith Hurley, our town nurse, has been on board, sharing information, reviewing data, and looking at the program itself, as well as our 5 school nurses. We have 1 school nurse per building, plus we have a lead nurse that has been everything COVID for the past 2 years. We also have certified nursing assistants in the school. At present, we have 3. They spend a tremendous amount of time working with individual students, putting data into our systems in terms of COVID positive cases, contacting families. So there will be some relief on that end. So staff and students are going to be provided. I brought copies, and you can have one at the end of this meeting if you'd like. It's a draft opt-in notification that will go to all staff and all parents for their students, in order for you to get sent home a COVID rapid antigen test. So you know the boxes, everybody knows them now. It's a box, and in that box comes 2 test kits. Every person who opts in will be provided with 1 box that has 2 test kits in it every 2 weeks. So we'll send home the test kits with students, staff will get them in their school buildings for themselves, and every 2 weeks they will be expected to self-test at home. And we're still working out some of the small details, but we believe we're going to have, based on how the nurses feel would be the most appropriate, as well as Meredith, folks to test on Tuesday. And if they test on Tuesday after school, they'll be able to let us know whether or not their student will be coming to school on Wednesday. Staff members the same. If they test and they're negative, we don't need to hear from them. But if they do test and they are positive, there is a portal that the parents as well as staff will have to submit their test results. We're not asking them to send in their antigen test because it's an at-home rapid test. We are asking them to let us know so that we can make sure students are getting work, classrooms are covered. There's some pretty good instructions on how to go through the process, how to opt in, and when you opt in, what's going to happen next. So we've developed a letter to go home to families that has active live links in it that will bring the family to a Google Doc to quickly fill out, and then those children will be on a list to be able to get an antigen test put in their backpack at the lower level every 2 weeks to go home. And at the secondary level, middle school and high school, we're still working out the details on the handing out of those items. But critically important is for the parents to have in their hands, as well as our staff members, the opt-in form. Because once they opt in, that's the data that we need to support to the state of Massachusetts through this portal called CIC. And when we submit that, those numbers turn into test kits that come here. And then we bring those test kits to the school, work with the principals about how to get them into the hands of families. What happens with those test kits when they leave our hands is up to the parents. We will be sending in our information, which will be short and not overwhelming. It will come with links to videos about how to actually do the test. It will be in multiple languages, so that when you start the Google form, you'll be able to choose your language, whether it's Arabic, Portuguese, whatever the language is. Then the instructions on how to complete that opt-in form will be given to you in another language. And then there are links to videos that the Department of Education and Department of Public Health have created that can walk you through how to perform that rapid test, which probably everybody, if not almost everybody, knows how to do it on their own. But it does walk you through it in multiple languages. So if there's any concern about the understanding of the information. We had to give the Department of Education the number of staff we have as a step forward for them to at least get those in our hands so we could start to distribute them. And then the student access is gonna not come until the parents opt in. And then as the parents opt in, we send it to CIC and then the numbers, and then they send us the test kits and we get them out. So there's still a little bit of detail on the back end that we need to do. Every school in the Commonwealth is going through this right now. Every public school, every charter school is going through this process. We're at the hands of the Department of Education, who keeps sending us links. I've done 2 webinars, and I believe I understand it fully now. Our lead nurse has also done those same webinars, and she, in conjunction with myself and some of our more Google-savvy principals, have created one portal in which the principals will be able to take that data and crush it real quick so that we can get these into the hands of our families. There is no check and balance with families. There is no rapid antigen police that are gonna come out and say, did you do this? And prove that you use this rapid test on your child. The expectation is that they will be used for the children. Should you use it for someone else, you would have to get yourself another one at CVS, because there is only 1 test kit per week per child and per staff member. That's the only allotment that they will provide us with. So more to come in emails from me, which I'm sure are starting to get extremely annoying. But I will update you on the numbers. I believe it'll be tomorrow. We will get an email out to staff for them to opt in, so that we can start to package those for the staff. And our plan is to hand them out every 2 weeks, because like I said, 1 box comes with 2 test kits, so that should cover a student or a staff member for the 2 weeks. We're gonna put a link on the main page of the website for the reporting of the result, so that parents don't have to fumble around and look for my old click here, highlighted in bold and red, item on the letter, so that a parent, if their child is positive, on the main website, there'll be a link, and all they have to do is go in and just put their name of their child, the school they attend, and that they are positive. They won't be questioned by that, but those are the numbers that we'll be using in coordination with the Maven system to report our numbers to the Department of Education. We've done had a lot of conversations on whether or not this is better or this is worse than what we had, and from the medical side, from the nurses and their feedback, and from what I listened to on these webinars, putting these test kits in the hands of people is going to result in more people testing. Right now, I think if you don't have access to a test and your child is coming to school maybe with what you think is allergies, could be COVID, might not be, and it's being done within the school. And that's good to the point that you can handle it. but the capacity of 1,996 students and 340 staff members and 5 nurses is beyond not only Winthrop's control, but this is what the state has been hearing now for the last 3 months. It's becoming overwhelming. So I think we're headed in the right direction. I do want to say and be very clear about this, if this doesn't work and we see things going in a bad direction, we can flip and go back to what we were doing. We can change our minds. We can incorporate pooled testing at some point if we think we need it. Rapid testing and Binax testing and test and stay was working very well. We did not have in-school spread prior to Omicron, and when Omicron hit, I challenge anybody to figure out whether Omicron was coming through the door at 8 o'clock in the morning or being shared between kids while they were eating lunch 3 to 6 feet apart. We could not keep up with the numbers that came through the door. So the state feels and is strongly recommending that we move in this direction, and we've decided that we will. It does not require a school committee vote. It might be one of the 3 times that I'm gonna use my authority to make this decision based on the support and the feedback and the amount of work that I have participated in with the Department of Education and the Department of Public Health, and they are strongly recommending it, so we're gonna move forward. Students will probably begin the first week in February. I believe February 7th is a Monday, so they will have test kits in their hands, and February 8th will be a Tuesday, and after school, instead of going to Ingleside, hopefully kids are gonna go home and do the quick swab so we can get a sense of who's gonna be coming to school the following day. The same criteria is gonna stay in place for students needing to stay out of school. It's 5 days, either from the onset of symptoms or until, or from your test, and you can come back to school on the 6th day if your symptoms have resolved. And of course, you have to wear a mask. That's the other part of the new state quarantine and isolation guidelines. Have to wear a mask in school anyway, until a bare minimum of the end of February?
Yeah, the
I think it's
right now.
to the end of February. And who knows what the Department of Education is gonna say at the end of February. You know, do they have to wear them until the beginning of April? I'm not gonna guess at that, because every time I guess at something, something else gets done. But we will stay on top of that and keep people up to date. I'm sure people will have questions once the letter goes home. We'll have people in place to answer those questions, but it is 1 test kit with 2 tests to be handed out every 2 weeks, and they will not give us extras. It's different than when the state sent all the tests to the community. They sent a batch of tests. This is based on your numbers. So even if you don't think you're gonna use it, sort of like the air freshener you get for free when you get your car washed, take it. Take it. Please understand they have expiration dates. So going to CVS and buying 50 of them and hoarding them, it's not helpful. They expire. These are coming we're getting a new shipment every 2 weeks. So that's the update on that. I want to give you a quick athletic update. We're midway through the winter season, which so far has gone off without a hitch. And when I say a hitch in athletics, a hitch is we can't play because, you know, of illness related to COVID. We have not had that. We've had a few athletes that have had to sit out. We currently have 208 athletes participating this winter, which includes 24 students that are either in grade 6, 7, or 8 that have waivers. And they're competing in, or those kids who are competing in their first season of our pilot of middle school basketball. And thanks to the help of Mr. Curley, it has come back after a 10-year hiatus of no middle school basketball. So that's exciting news. Just a quick, the boys hockey team is 4-4. Girls hockey team is 7-0, not that I'm partial. Boys basketball is 5-5. Girls basketball 6-5. Girls gymnastic undefeated 3-0. Boys indoor track is 2-2. Girls indoor track is 3-1. And swimming is 0-7. However, we co-op with Lynn English, and one of our students, Ina Shabani, is a team's co-captain. As the mother of a child who participated in the swim team when it first came about, I can't speak highly enough about that co-op and the exposure to other students from other schools, and it's an individual/team sport. How we never had a swim team for a bazillion years when we're living in a peninsula, how we don't have a pool. Those are things that we can talk about later. But I'm very proud of our athletes. Our student athletes are following the rules, and that's why we're still playing. We're having a lot of trouble with busing, so the buses are a conundrum. Healy Bus and another bus company, which escapes me, Vocational provides a fair amount of our transportation. We use our athletic vans, thankfully we have them, as much as humanly possible, but the bus companies have canceled on us a number of times. Thanks to coaches with 7D licensure, because we've been pushing that, and Skip Galley, who's our morning bus driver for our students down the point, and our mail delivery guy. He's also triples as a athletic bus driver in the evening. Our students are getting to their practices, to their games, and our parents have been very helpful as well. So we thank everybody for that. We are still awaiting approval of our ESSER 3 funding. That's the larger ESSER 3 grant that runs through 2025. We're finally like I said, 2024. Laurie's in the gallery giving me that. There's so many grants that expire at different times. So that is the grant that we ask for parent input in at various curriculum nights and open houses where parents come in and put their thoughts and expectations for the use of this money on a sticky board. We're awaiting the approval of that. We sort of got pushed into a line with the approval of this grant that the Department of Education decided they needed legal consult on a number of school districts who were doing what I sort of envision as the smartest use of one-time funding, which is larger projects, some capital work that would otherwise be considered as capital projects. As an example, fixing a roof, correct?
Yeah, leaking roofs, windows.
Yeah, we have some leaking roofs.
Upgrades to HVAC.
Yeah, all
systems.
which improve air quality and keep our students, we have, great, MERV, as I've said before, 15+ filters throughout our school district. And we wanna keep that air quality at the highest, rate possible for our students. So we're gonna be using some of that money, and again, it's one-time money. So to use one-time money for one-time cost gives you the best bang for your buck. So not all of it, but a portion of it we have earmarked for that, which will behoove the school district in the long run. So we're hoping within the next week or two, once that grant is approved by Department of Education mandate, we need to post the use of those funds. And if you recall, we did ask for a large amount of input, not just from parents and families, but from our own school administrators and personnel as well. So as soon as that is approved, we will post that. And the last update is the high school fire alarm went off twice today. I learned the first time because somebody texted me to tell me it was going off. And then Mr. Crombie alerted me right after. The fire alarm, which is in the foyer of the high school, is broken. There's something wrong with it. It's going off when it's not supposed to. It went off again at the end of the school day today. Kids were thrilled. Staff was not. Matt Crombie was not. Neither was Mikkel Filipko, who had to call the fire alarm company to come out and take a look at that and see what repair it's needed, because it's interrupting school learning. We don't have a choice when the fire alarm goes off. There's not I don't smell smoke, we're not gonna leave. It doesn't work that way. That fire alarm goes off, the fire department shows up, thankfully, and we get a chance to run a fire drill, get outside, get some fresh air. And it wasn't pulled by anybody, so there was a little rumor that kids were pulling it. No kids were pulling the fire alarm. It was a faulty fire alarm. And that's the end of my report.
Do we have any questions?
I do, sorry.
Yes, Ms. Berry.
A plug for Frozen Junior, Winthrop Middle School Drama Society show.
Yes, so that's gonna be coming under, it's in your packet, and I believe we have rebirthed public relations at the end of our meetings, so we will jump on that at the end.
Great, sorry.
Do we have any homeschool applications?
We do not. And in terms of personnel, would you like me to jump on that?
Yes.
So personnel, we have no appointments, resignations, or retirements for this meeting. We do have a posting for a special education teacher at the Cummings School, which was due to a resignation of someone who had been out on leave. So we will be filling that, and we do not have any noted leaves of absence at this time.
Okay. Under new business, we have the updated subcommittee list. I believe we don't need to vote on that, right? Just need to have it listed.
Yep.
And that will be posted on our website as well.
Great.
And I also have asked for a policy subcommittee review. This is to review the opportunities for Zoom, whether or not that should be, and how that would be continued. So I'm gonna ask that that be sent to the policy committee. Don't believe I need a vote on that either, just goes to the policy subcommittee. So we will be addressing the Zoom question which has been asked. Unfinished business, we have superintendent goals.
So I think everybody has them now, the new members. I did get some comments from Ms. Leonard, and I'm waiting for some comments, if she has them, from Ms. Petrie. And if there are no comments, it's okay. You don't have to comment if you don't want, but if you want to see something on that, you can. Also, I think I'll be handing this off to Julie, because she's the new chair of the superintendent evaluation. So I'll finish this one, and then you do the next one?
Okay.
And just a point of clarity, the goals that you have before you, which are sort of old now, sort of old, like June old, July old, I am working on all of those. So I think it's important for people to know I'm not waiting for approval to work on them, because business needs to be done, and it's a snapshot, and those goals that you had were a draft. So I welcome the feedback, and I certainly can provide any member of the committee information on the rubrics that superintendents have to follow, because oftentimes superintendent goals look broad, and they're supposed to. So any information that you want to share or know about, certainly contact me individually, and I can go through some of that with you, especially some of our new members who don't know. But I appreciate the feedback that I've received so far, so I can turn those from draft into final goals. And it's also important to note that those goals don't come with my action plans. So my action plans are ongoing events and ongoing opportunities for me to meet those goals. So they are separate and distinct from the goals themselves, but I'm happy to discuss action plans with people as well. So feel free to reach out to me for further discussion on that.
I just have a question about, like, timing of goals.
Yes.
Is that okay to
Yes.
ask? Understandably, this has been an unprecedented time,
Yeah.
but I'm just wondering, in an ideal sort of scenario, at what point would the school committee be reviewing the goals for the year? Because
Sure.
it strikes me we're reviewing 21-22 goals in early 2022.
Yeah, so the goals, so there's been a slight change in the calendar of the goal related to my current my next contract, which is more supportive of having them done earlier, so that the evaluation can be completed at some point prior to July 1st. So I'll pull that language out for you. Typically, the goals are presented in no later than October 1st, so that you are aware, and it's done that way because we're developing the goals of the administration, and next year will be even a little bit stranger because we'll have a new strategic plan. And all of that gets tied together. And then the evaluation typically happens before July. There's also an opportunity, which I think at this point in time, given all of the changes with COVID and all of the focus points over the past 2 years, superintendents can be on a 2-year plan as well, as opposed to a yearly update. If you think about this year, I've been working on these same goals since July 1st of last year, which is fine. I'm still working on them whether they're approved or not, because it's part of day-to-day school business. But then once they are approved, those are the goals that you'll be evaluating me on, and I will have to be sharing with you evidence to support those goals, or at the very least, a summary of my own performance, so that you can see what have I done to achieve each one of these goals. And then the committee has the right to say, well, can you show me something to reflect that? If it has to do with, management of school safety and security, what have you actually done for the safety and security? So before you do that evaluation of me, I provide you with a full list of all of the accomplishments directly related to those goals, so that the committee can come back and say, that's nice that you said that, but show me the evidence to support that you put brand-new cameras in all the schools, and what was the funding source for that? So I can walk you through some of that as well.
Thank you. Okay, public relations, Mr. Martucci?
What's up?
Ms. Berry?
Good.
Frozen.
Yeah. Oh, can I say it?
Yes.
Frozen, you were frozen.
Plug away.
Plug away, shameless plug. Winthrop Middle School Drama Society proudly presents Frozen Junior, February 4th, 5th, and 6th. Please get your tickets. This is the kids' first show in over 2 years, so they're super excited. They've all been working really, really hard, and I think it's gonna be awesome.
Fantastic. Ms. Leonard?
Nothing.
So, Mr. Lettieri?
Yeah, I'll just take a minute to echo the sentiments of the superintendent for tomorrow's vote for the vocational school. It is extremely worthy. I encourage you to support it. We, as Superintendent Howard said, have roughly 57 students. This would also give potentially another 15 or so the opportunity to get to the vocational school. Those skills are sorely needed. And again, if there are any questions, you could feel free to reach out to me too. But I encourage you to get out and vote.
And Ms. Petrie?
Under public relations, if Ms. Petrie has anything, you're on speaker now.
Not at the moment, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Mr. Martucci, second by Ms. Berry.
Yep.
All those, please call the roll. Ms. Hames?
Ms. Leonard?
Yes.
Mr. Lettieri?
Yes.
Mr. Martucci?
Yes.
Ms. Petrie?
Yes.
Ms. Swope?
Yes.
Ms. Barry?
Yes.
Ms. Powell?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, we are adjourned.